Hello, everybody. How are you? Today, we are very lucky to have Philip with us. And with Philip, we are going to talk about influencer marketing trends for 2021. Philip is based out of Belgium. And as he likes to say, Belgium is not UK and UK is not Belgium. Things that he loves TikTok, Instagram, travel, history, and munching and cooking food, to be precise. Like me, he started off as a programmer and he used to implement large scale softwares like SAP for big companies. And from there, he shifted to marketing because he wanted to see more of how people work and how people do their things. And he is a people's person, so he likes to be around people in the first place. During his journey, he has worked with Microsoft Europe, Radisson Hotel Group, Uber, Deliveroo, among a few companies that are there. And he has a keen interest in startups and the tech world. Thanks a lot, Philip, for joining us today. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, Philip, first thing that normally we ask people is how did that jump happen from being a programmer to being a marketer? So, what was the tipping point that shifted the whole thing?
Well, how to say it? I realized that I'm much better at talking than I am at programming. Let's say it in that sense. So the jump kind of happened that I realized that over through my education and through my initial engagements as a programmer and as a person involved in the IT systems, I realized that that the IT gives me a very nice oversight how programs function. But what I was curious, how people function who use those programs. And then I remember I attended a webinar organized from Google. It was a long time in 2009. And that was kind of my first spark that got me interested into digital marketing at that time because they had a very nice webinar about Google Ads, and I was like, huh, look at this marketing. This is so cool. You can target these people. You can target these people.
Great.
So that my first experience with digital marketing was SEO and Google Ads. And then as social media started to become bigger and bigger, especially here in Europe, I got curious about Facebook, that cool thing that now only grandparents use. Yeah. And then I started to explore it and started to attend their online webinars and also went to some workshops. And I just found it very interesting because you can really get a sense for social media. How do people work? How to get their attention? And me liking being around people and liking to learn about people, it just seemed like something that I was more naturally made for doing.
True. Uh, so, coming to our topic, everybody has a different definition for influencer marketing. So, what is the definition that you have for influencer marketing?
Well, my definition, let's say I have two definitions for influencer marketing.
Yeah.
So over the years since the influencer trend started, the original and true influencers are people who just share what they love doing and manage to form a community around them, and where they share their recommendations for the products and services and experiences that they truly like, that they really want, that they would like to invite their friends over and be like, okay, come with me here, use this. I really like it. I really stand behind it. And then you have the other form of influencers that unfortunately formed after those, that are just after the money. I call them the billboard influencers, on which you can stamp on more or less any product and they will be obsessed with it and they will love it. We even have a joke: don't forget to say that you're obsessed about something, and that immediately makes you an influencer. While that approach can work for some people, I don't like it because it's dishonest, and
True.
because those people who claim to be such influencers, they will say anything that the brand gives them money to say for. So yeah, I like the first ones more.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, everybody says that there was a pre-COVID world and a post-COVID world is shaping up now. Okay,
Yes.
so how do you see, because you have been in the industry for last 11 years now, and how do you
Mhm.
see the things in the influencer marketing segment where before that, and what are the aspects that you feel will be changing in the post-COVID world for maybe a few influencers, but majority of them, or how would you take that?
So if I understood, your question is like, how do I see what influencer marketing looked like before COVID, and what I
Yeah.
think which trends appeared in order after COVID? Okay. So I do believe that before COVID, the influencers were kind of a bit more focused on polishing their looks and being and posting content that seemed a bit too artificial,
Okay.
and that used to work to a certain extent because people were searching for some perfection and to see the ideal environment in which a product or a service or an experience is being consummated and enjoyed. And where what I think that during COVID, that what COVID taught us is that we need to value things that are close to us, especially those people that lost their families. They really start. I think that overall, throughout the world, people started to understand the importance that not having that the new car is not what is important. It's important to have your family alive, close to you, and to cherish those moments. So I do believe that that transpired into the influencer marketing world in the sense that authenticity will now be a much more important thing. So influencers that really portray the products, services, experiences that they will promote in a more an authentic way, that they will prosper. I believe that the super polished way of doing things won't be that relevant anymore, and that people will even look at some influencers who are over polishing, and they will call them fake, and that they will be more focused on those that really show things how they really are in real life. I do also see that the so-called no edit approach to everything will continue to be important. So content made with tiny to little to no editing will be the one that will drive the most value. So that's my view.
Great. So I think due to COVID, people will get more real. That is what I sense out of it.
Yes.
Because most of the people now have understood that what are the real values in life in a way that people around you, or those are the people who are important in the first place. Coming to the ROI of influencer marketing. So some people have that assumption that influencer marketing is still not evolved enough, where brands know what are the right KPIs to target and how things work. Because sometimes we see, whenever I talk to some brands, and they are like, if we do a newspaper ad or if we do a billboard ad, we actually somewhere down the line know that this is how it is going to work. But again, in influencer marketing, they don't know anything more than the awareness part, that how it will help, or what kind of KPIs to track, and what are the things that to do, or how to judge the conversion in that same. So what is your take on that, and how do you think the industry is shaping in that way?
Well, yeah, that's a very good point because that is true that CEOs and VPs that they approach those the so-called traditional digital marketing ways differently than influencer marketing because they know what can they can expect. The very big mistake from my experience in working with influencers in recommending them to companies and me working with them initially before I understood the niche is that for you, in order to track the ROI, you need to set up tangible goals with them. So you need to know what do you expect from them. It's a very bad idea, I think, just to, let's say, for example, you're a publisher that has a book and you have an influencer and you give him a book and say, here you go, promote this, and that's it. Of course, you cannot measure that because you don't know what will they do. You need to see, you need to set up goals. So if I give to the influencer a product, I need to see, do I want to generate more conversations? Do I want people to check the snippets and check and to see, do they like it? If they don't like it, do I want to track sales? If you want to track sales, there are many ways that you can set up that. You can either set up affiliate links. You can either tell them, okay, if you buy this book from me, you get another one free. Any other of those sales channels. So let's say that people need to set up goals for influencers marketing the same as they set up goals for Facebook advertising campaigns. It's the exact same thing. You need to know what do you want. So if you want pure awareness, then reach, comments, engagement is important. If you want to generate sales, then from my point of view, engagement and sales are important. That means that you need to provide them with the proper links, and you need to set up an infrastructure that will follow, that will track the sales that influencer generates. Or if you really don't care that much, then you can just give them the product, but then don't complain if your invested money didn't come back in a way that you wanted because you didn't set up expectation and you didn't say to them, what do you exactly want? So yeah.
So, what most of the times happens is, from my experience, whatever I have done with influencer marketing, is their niche are very different sometimes. So, some food blogger
Yes,
is there,
true.
or maybe some fashion bloggers are there. So, but when they do some cross promotion in any other industry, that does not work out in the first place. Other is a lot of problem is there of fake followers. So, what has been your experience with both these things?
The so-called vanity metrics. Yes, that is a very big problem. Well, the thing is, as you said, like, so when an influencer that comes from a particular niche wants to promote something else, so there are two things that are important, I think. You need to know, you need to first, when you approach such an influencer, you need to see, do they understand their audience? Do they know what their audience likes? Is their audience even interested for a product that you want to sell it to them? And then second thing, what you can do is that if you have an influencer that has, for example, let's say 1 million followers, but then you see that their posts and everything get on average 50 to 100 or so engagement, that should be a very big red flag for you, because that will show inauthentic behavior, because the organic reach can vary from, let's say, 2% to 5%. But if you see that the engagement rate on their Instagram post or YouTube or whatever is very, very low, then it's then you will end up wasting your money. But then again, also, I do understand that some influencers tend to approach brands and try to convince them, like, no, 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 this is not true. This is not true. So then I think it's very important for a brand to go around that, is to have tracking set up immediately and to see results based on every week. So the first week, what happens? The second week, what happens? The third week, what happens? If they see that the results are very, very tiny, very, very tiny, from an influencer that says, look, I have 1 million followers, but you see that you got maybe 15 inputs, 20 inputs or so, you need to set it up in such a way that you can quickly get, that the brand can get out of that deal very quickly and then pick somebody else. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
So, what are the some major trends that you are seeing in 2021, which will surely get picked up, and which were not there in 2020 or maybe before? So, one
Mhm.
thing that I see is local travel is something which is picking up very fast. So the influencers who were there are now trying to promote things which are around them. So, suppose in US it is just whatever things are in that around 300 miles or 250 miles, which is a day's ride.
Yes.
So those kind of things are increasing. What are other things that you feel are changing around?
Well, I did notice, especially on TikTok, while I was working with some brands, that there is a very big emphasis and very big popularity of influencers that are trying to show practical skills. So, for example, there is one guy on TikTok that has about 50 to 100,000 likes on his content posted, and he teaches the followers basic survival skills. So, for example, how to make a knife in the forest, how to start a fire, how to set up a shelter if you're walking through the forest and you end up stranded, or you just don't have where to sleep. So I think that those practicality will keep growing, and also, as you mentioned, that local travel tips, for sure, that will continue further on to show, like, really to explore the area around you. And also, especially the trend that I particularly like, that is picking up here in Belgium specifically, is
Yeah.
boosting local producers and local trade in comparison from boosting the big brands. So here there is a very nice trend where you have I don't know how to say that in English. Here we call them communes, the different parts of the city. I don't know how
Okay.
to call that in English, but let's say different parts of the city. So each of them, they have their local producers. So from farms to people making clothes to people making jewelry. And on Facebook, they started to group run which is being run by two women that promote those local content. And I noticed that also influencers are tagging along that trend, where they take those locally produced things, and then they post content that is in those neighborhoods, advertised to people who live there. And that is for me very good, because you are very, very locally focused for people who are from that neighborhood who want to get that content. So that is something that I really, really like. Besides that, I think that video will definitely continue to dominate, especially with the growth of TikTok and its copy reels.
Yeah.
So I think that there we will see very interesting combinations. There, I recently have spoken to a friend of mine. She's in the fashion influencer here in Brussels. She said that, like, from her friends that are also in the influencing business, she said that she doesn't understand when people are, okay, I'm either pro TikTok and against Reels, or pro Reels and against TikTok. She said that the key for you to succeed is in merging the both.
True.
It's in knowing the what do people like to see on Reels, what do they like to see on TikTok, and then if you make even the smallest, the simplest of strategies behind, you can reap the benefits of both platforms. Because people come with a certain expectation on Instagram because they use the type of content that they see there, and the to different content when they come on TikTok. As I said, there, especially now, there's a trend of practical tips, of entertaining, and of course of pretty people. Of course, it helps if you're pretty. That always sells. But for us that are not, we need to be practical in those sense. And
Yeah.
then other things, the major thing I think will grow, especially in the UK and US, is diversity and inclusion. That is, especially after the Black Lives Matters movement, I see that a lot of brands are tagging along on that. But there, I think it's very important for a brand to show that they're inclusive in a realistic sense, not just to show, look, we're inclusive for inclusive sake, because then it just looks fake. Then it looks like literally, okay, there's a African American in the streets, let's drag him. Look, see, we're inclusive. See, we have a
Yeah.
black
Yeah.
guy. That's just ridiculous, and that won't lead to anything. So a proper inclusion and proper diversity, that will generate them results from building their brand reputation, and to making that drive sales. So
Oh,
yeah.
great. One more thing that I got from what you were saying is local thing promotion for local is being built a lot on an influencer segment. So the same is happening in the Indian or South Asian continent part also.
Mhm.
That there are a few campaigns which governments are only running currently because they want to decrease their imports and then help the local brands in a way. South
Mhm.
Korea is coming up with also a plan where they will be giving people money. Uh,
Mhm.
Everybody will get maybe some few dollars which they have to compulsorily have to spend on the local brands only. So they cannot spend on McD, they cannot spend on Burger
Mm.
King or Pizza Hut and those kind of things. They will have to spend it on the local brands only in food or
So they
maybe in
cannot buy
any.
BTS CDs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those
Okay.
kind of promotions are happening in maybe all over the world now because of the COVID
Mhm.
situation. Local brands are being suffered a lot.
Mhm.
Other thing which is very interesting in the segment which I see for influencer marketing coming up in a way is genuinity is increasing. Plus, I think diversification of content is also increasing. Somebody who is getting more views on TikTok is now also focusing on reels. And then we have YouTube also coming up with short videos, YouTube
Yeah,
shorts.
that's available already here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that is coming up. So do you feel there is the same trend which was there in times of stories? Snapchat brought stories, then Instagram brought it, and then Instagram and Facebook both had stories. Then we had messengers getting into stories. Then we had WhatsApp getting into stories. So do you feel the same trend will continue? That maybe tomorrow we will see WhatsApp having reels or something which they call reels on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Do you feel
So
that is
that's
going to
a
happen?
yeah, that actually reminds me of a discussion that I had recently with a colleague here, Gillen from work. He said, like, oh my God, all the apps are introducing stories. Like, what is that? So from my personal opinion is that I see the stories format, and with that following the reels format, kind of like I don't see. So let's put it like this: at the beginning, when social networks were launched,
Yeah.
the data was the internet was pretty expensive. It was not that easy to upload a video. It was not that easy to upload a photo. You could at most upload a photo, but mostly started with text.
Test.
So
Yeah.
if you, I remember when I was younger, when the first Facebook launched, it was basically just text, and then you would
Yes.
upload photos from home. So as the technology upgraded, and as our phones became more powerful, and as the internet access became cheaper, video became more normal and normal to upload. So for me, the stories format seems like a natural evolution from a timeline into the story, because now the infrastructure is there and it's
Yeah.
easy and it's cheap. It's very easy now to shoot a video of whatever you want. And I see that very normal, that as a normal progression. And Reels, I see how to say as an extension of that, that will continue to merge with it together,
Okay.
because Reels, in a sense, is kind of being more focused to post content that's a bit more focused than the one in a story, because a story expires and Reels, or whatever you platform will like to call it, stays there. So through that type of content, you will post things that don't expire, and then through the story, you post things that are currently happening. So how to say it to a sense? A story now is what the timeline was then, and
Yeah.
Reels will be what photos were then. And
Okay.
whatever, and AR, which I think we will
Heading
probably
to.
see a little bit now, are videos what used to be then. That's my view.
That's a great analogy. I think
Thanks.
a lot of people will be reusing that. I am surely going to reuse that analogy wherever I go.
Go ahead. If you get rich, I want 10%. Yeah.
Great. Major thing that people, so we were talking about video content continuing.
Mhm.
So do you feel that, again, with the bandwidth increasing, internet getting cheaper day by day, consumption is also increasing. So do you feel that the video trend will continue? So do you feel the platforms like Quora and others will become irrelevant, Reddit, Quora, and those kind of things, or their community will be the same? And then we have different platforms which are coming up. Suppose TikTok is there, and then some other platform will come up. So what kind of trend do you see for influencers? Because we had Quora influencers also at a time where they were heading that those communities. We have
We
Reddit
still do.
influencers also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you still have it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
still have it.
So do you feel that we are turning into world where everybody will be having their own niche and their own platforms, or maybe some Quora influencers can be good in TikTok also, or vice versa?
Oh, so exactly. So that's actually a very good analogy that you gave for the Quora influencers to become TikTok influencers. That's actually an excellent idea, because on Quora, people discuss things that the general audience usually doesn't know about.
Yeah.
And if there's an influencer on Quora who is very knowledgeable on how to start the discussion, if they have knowledge on how to translate that into video content, or if they're willing to pay or have a friend or a brother or a sister or I don't know who, to
Record.
form that into a video content, that would be very successful. I think that is very, very successful. And then relating to your previous question, where you said that, like, will everybody be in its separate niche? I do believe that people will stay in their niches, but those that decide to leap out of their niche, if they know how to do it properly, they could achieve very good results. Because when you see, for example, that the majority of current TikTok influencers like Logan Paul and others, they were
Yeah.
Vine stars
Yeah.
before. And
True.
once Vine disappeared, which had a different approach to everything, it was kind of more jokey, just like 6 seconds of just pure fun. They evolved into what they are now, and they are very big stars. I mean, I personally, I understand those Logan Paul and others. Their audience is like teenagers and much younger people. But from a business sense, they weren't, how Gary Vee actually tends to say, they weren't romantic about the platforms. They were just like, okay, I'm active on this platform. I see what works, and I discovered this side of myself.
Yeah.
That platform dies. This one is raising in popularity. Okay, I'll jump on this, and then see and adjust how I can prosper there. So yeah, to summarize, I would say yeah, we will. I think we will keep niche influencers the same as we kept people who are still knowledgeable on forums, which are from the early days of internet. Forums still
Yeah,
exist. Reddit is still there, which is a huge forum there, and all the other ones. There are many more. We will keep those, but those that affiliate themselves as knowledgeable on any of those niches, if they want to leap out, I think and if they know where to leap out, because it depends on where do you come from and where do you go. So, like for example, if you're knowledgeable on Quora, Instagram is probably not a good idea to go because it's very visual. But if you want to go, as I said, on TikTok, where you want to teach people how to do something, that's a much better idea. So it all comes down, I think, to the skill and knowledge of a particular influencer on knowing how to jump from one side to another side.
great. Uh, Extending the question of knowledge, sometimes,
Mhm.
and we have seen around COVID that a lot of misinformation is also spread by these influencers.
Oh, yeah,
So,
many.
yeah. So, do you see any change in trends coming in 2021? Because as Twitter is there, they have started flagging the tweets. I think the biggest example is they are flagging the tweet of US president. Uh, so he is
Which
himself,
is just crazy. This
yeah,
is just crazy. Yeah.
yeah. So himself is an influencer in some way. He can influence a lot of things. He is having a lot of following, and the platform is flagging his tweets. In the same way, do you see things coming on other platforms also in 2021 where they are expanding these things for influencers?
Well, given the so one of my clients is an association where all of those big tech members the big tech brands are members. So we have the Microsoft is a member, Facebook is a member, Twitter is coming soon, and so on. So I know that there is a pan industry effort in combating fake news that is very pan industry wise. But yeah, that begs the question: will flag influence somebody? Will that mean something to somebody, or they will think, "Oh no, this is what they don't want you to know"? So if I would come up with a solution to that, I would be a very rich person because I know the European Parliament is about to pay a lot of money to somebody who can resolve that. So I don't have a definite solution to that, but I do believe that other platforms will come up with their own systems of flagging such content. That is for sure. But that also there that you have another problem is that fake news and clickbait content generates money for them, lots of it. And that's the biggest issue because let's say, for example, Facebook also now flags everything from if you share something in WhatsApp and Instagram on Facebook, they will flag everything. But if you promote it as an ad, you can still get by. And that's the biggest thing because those fake news to Facebook and other platforms that gives them money.
Money.
In order for them to successfully combat it, they would need to reject that from their platform. But then that means that a very big chunk of their money that comes through advertising would go away. And that's a much bigger issue and a much bigger conversation. But I think that what people would need to implement in order to fight those fake news and what the credible brands and credible sources need to do is to run more of an education campaign to show that, like, okay, so if you see a news about this is where you can check it, and that should be, I think, an ongoing campaign that should never ever stop
Yeah.
for them to really to show, like, okay, so if you see some news about corona, what did I see recently, that in the corona vaccine you have what is it? What was it? Blood of the minks, and then if you
Yeah.
infect it, you'll become Muslim. I am not joking. Yes, yes.
Oh,
By the way, if you didn't know, that's possible according to those websites. So what I think that they really need to push the through truth checker websites where you can check, is this right? Is this
or
wrong?
not.
And to keep
True.
that pushing and pushing.
Because fact checking is required. A lot of people in US, there was a campaign where they were saying that COVID is being spread by these 5G towers which are coming up,
Oh yes.
and yeah, they started breaking it. And those things were happening because some influencers in those areas posted those things that yeah, this is true, let's go and break the 5G towers, and a lot of 5G towers were
Yeah.
broken due to those things. So that is I think the wrong side of influencer marketing, if we say.
Yes.
Yeah. Another thing that always is in back of the mind, so how do you judge, or what do you see that as an influencer, do they need to have a conscious after a point? Because someday if somebody comes, so suppose we have a team, Oppo as a company, or maybe Apple as a company, coming to you and telling you, we will be giving you so much money, you will have to do 2 posts for this next 2 weeks. So you do that, and after 2 3 weeks, you have Samsung coming up with their new Note, and they giving you that phone. So how do you define that loyalty part on the side of influencers? Because a lot of fashion influencers change, it is good for them to change clothes every now and then, and because that is simple. But whenever
Mhm.
you are promoting an electronic or things like that, that is more on the loyalty part. So what kind of things are you seeing in the industry, and are people flagging those things as a person? Because a lot of movie stars come in 1 week, they are promoting something, and next week they are promoting something else. So are people seeing this, or it's okay to do those things?
Hmm. Those are those that I mentioned. I call them billboard influencers. You just
Okay.
stamp it. You take off the old sign, you stamp a new sign. Hmm. Well, the thing is, all of those things work, to some people. The problem is that, well, the biggest problem is that influencers are people, and that people are different. Some people are willing to uh, flag their loyalty for things, as you said, like 1 week I'm a super big Samsung supporter, but then
Yeah.
after that I'm crazy about the iPhone just because they gave me more money the next week. Um, I do believe that if so for an influencer, if they want to establish a dedicated following that will really be engaged with them, they need to have a solid vision, mission, and values to which they stick by. Of course, you can slightly alter, because if you started, let's say, a YouTube channel at age 19 and
Yeah.
now you're 45, your values and principles and stuff you value
Change.
altered a little bit. But in essence, things that you hold dear shouldn't change that much. So I do believe that those influencers that are devoted to one brand this week and to another brand that week, they won't be that I didn't research that much, but this is from my own personal opinion. They cannot. I don't think they can set up a devoted followership there that can really stand behind them, because they change as the wind blows. Actually, and now when I think about it, one example came to my mind. It's from the Zoella, the famous
Yeah.
British influencer. She's very famous as the wind blows. The thing is that she, yeah. So at the beginning, because I was following her for about few years, when she was changing her brands every week and changing her approach every week, she did lose, I do believe, a lot of followers and ended up in a lot of issues because of that. But recently, she changed her strategy, and of course, she kind of updated and matured her approach, because she's now 30. She cannot serve 12-year-old girls anymore as she
Yeah.
did up to very recently. And I see that now, when she changed her approach and when she's a little bit more solid in her values, you can see that her community is starting to mature more, and that the discussions inside are much more solid and much more, how to say, adult and a bit more mature. And I do believe that that's very important for an influencer to say, look, my community actually, how to say, has a brain, and they
Yeah.
they can critically assess your product. Because of course, and then again, you have different brands that want different things. But if you're a brand that wants to become a go-to solution for a particular group of people, you want to advertise yourself to the community that can critically assess you as well.
True.
That will say you're okay in these things, but you're really bad at these things. And then, if you're smart, if you have a smart CEO, if you have a smart VPs, to take that input and actually update your brand, because in the end, that is what can help you as a company. Because then, in that way, the market tells you this is what we like and this is what we don't like, and that is very valuable for every brand if they understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Thanks a lot for that great answer.
Oh,
A
you're
lot
welcome.
of takeaways from that
I was
one
on
answer
fire.
that you gave. uh, we are approaching the end of this session, and
Mhm.
what would be that one tip which you would give to the marketers who are heading in 2021? Again, we don't know what 2021 has for us, but what is that one tip that you would like to give to the marketers who are trying to connect with influencers or are into influencer marketing segment, and they should be beware, or uh, any tip that you would like to give to them?
Set up clear expectations. What do you want for that influencer to achieve? So approach the influencer as you approach your Facebook ad campaign. Are you running sales? Set up how will you track sales. Are you running awareness? Set up how you will track that awareness. Are you focusing just on generating word of mouth? Set up tracks how to track that. Make sure that you know what do you expect from them. Don't just approach them and say, hey, promote this. How? I don't know. You're the influencer. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my tip.
Great. Another question which we ask people is how do you keep learning new things? Because we are in a field of social media and digital marketing, and it's an ever evolving field. One platform comes up and then it dies down in 2 3 years, or in initial days, you said that Facebook is now used by grandparents,
Yeah.
and yeah, so TikTok came up and or Instagram came up, and then YouTube has been a ever going thing. It has been evolving in itself. So how what are the things that you might read, or what are the things that you recommend people, or what are the approach that you have that people can also try to use?
Okay. So recently, I've been very engaged on Twitter in following marketing professionals from from big brands and other companies. So there is a very good hashtag that I highly recommend to anybody who is either a junior in marketing or even more experienced. It's called hashtag marketing Twitter. Just enter that in the search box, and you will find such an amazing community of people that share everything that they know about social media.
Okay.
Other thing besides going on Twitter and learning about that, Reddit is a very good source. There are excellent threads there where people really share amazing things. Follow the big portals. So social media today, follow TechCrunch, follow the Verge Beat, pick your favorite social media influencer. Gary Vee is always a good choice. He really makes sure to let you know what's coming up, and then sets up his presence on the
Yeah.
any new platform that comes up. And lastly, what I recommend is that if you see that a particular platform is starting to climb up and more people are mentioning it, install it, test it, because there's nothing more valuable than you trying out a particular platform. And don't be afraid there to share whatever and explore it, because that knowledge will help you to build your presence on maybe another platform that will come after that. So learn from Twitter, learn from influencers, and learn from practical use. Install everything, but don't give up after one day. Give it at least a month, and really try to dig deep into it. Yeah,
Great.
those are my
Thanks a
tips.
lot, Flip, for joining us today. It was a great
Thank
session.
you.